everybody, Christine here again on the marketing team for Monarch CPA, and I am with Katie Mangeli, founder of Monarch CPA, and this is part 2 of our 3-part series on emergency planning for your business. We're using a new tool today called StreamYard. If you want to leave a comment below, just make sure you click that little link and make sure you give it permission so we can see who's asking a question. And if you're catching us live and you have a question, please don't feel like you can't ask a question. Just go ahead and comment in and we'll follow up with an answer after the session. So Katie, good to see you again.
You too. So excited to be back here live again.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking, last time, if you guys caught us, we were talking about how to go about creating a plan in general, why emergency planning for a business owner is important, and basically the basics. Today we're talking about how to make sure that your team feels supported in your business should you need to step away for any sort of reason. So Katie, where should a founder start in trying to make sure that their team's supported if they have to step away for any length of time?
So first, I'm so glad you mentioned this is our second part where we're talking about supporting our team, because last week we talked about supporting our clients if some type of life emergency pulls us away from our business. And a lot of the steps that we talked about last week are similar but different steps we're going to talk about this week. So first thing is I would go back, and it is posted. It's still there if you didn't catch us live on our page. So go ahead and scroll back and watch that video, because it will kind of give you the 3 steps to creating that plan, to sort of the main bullet points that you need to know, as we then will reference those in our conversation today. Because really, as we discussed in our part 1, one of the biggest things is to have a plan. And no plan is perfect. So just having some kind of plan and having communicated that plan to either somebody on your team, a business partner, or somebody in your personal or professional life that would know about the plan, how to implement it, and that you were experiencing an emergency and it's time to implement the plan. So that's really the first place that a business owner would need to get started.
Got it. So where do you put all this information?
So one of the other things we actually, and there might be a lot of repeat as we talked about last week, so just bear with us. And again, because I want to hit these points again and really emphasize some of these things, because once you create this plan and really think about what are the considerations for my clients, for my business, for my team, it really is about finding a trusted place and or person to leave this information with, and sometimes refer to it as like an emergency plan document. But again, sometimes when we sit down to write out and think through all these questions, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, kind of like all those free courses we sign up for and then maybe don't finish the workbook. So I know how it can become one more thing. So another tip that I just want to really re-emphasize this week is that it can be great to just hop on a Zoom call with a friend, or again, a trusted employee or business partner, or you can even get on Zoom by yourself and hit the record button and state out like, okay, these are the areas that need to be addressed. This is where you would find information. This is what somebody would need to know to try to step into some of my shoes and keep things afloat while I'm away. And then again, once that step is done, whether you write it out in a document, whether you do a video type recording or even a voice note on your phone, keep it simple and just have some plans in place, is then share it with this trusted person. That could be, just sending it by a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder or whatever all the other means of sharing information are, sending it electronically to that person in your personal or professional life that would be able to put this into place. And then making sure that you create a calendar reminder to revisit this semi-annually. So maybe in your mid-year review over the summer, and then as you sit down before New Year's and kind of look at that year in review and consider what worked and what didn't, make sure that there isn't anything extremely significant that would need to be updated in your emergency planning.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. What is there any particular tool? I know you mentioned like Dropbox, Drive. Um, like we use LastPass for passwords. Is there any other kind of tool or anything like that that
You
you
know, there are
like?
so many, and I think it depends on, again, like one of the things we talked about last week in how to support your clients is there can be many different types of businesses, whether you're a solopreneur and you're really just a one person shop, or whether you have independent contractors, or maybe you have a team. So similarly, as we're now talking about supporting our clients, the infrastructure you have in place in your business may dictate where and how to disseminate this information. So for example, I have a server and there is a shared drive, and I can create certain folders that have different permissions for different team members. So if I was going to share my emergency plan with my operations manager, for example, I would put that in a folder that we have already created for that. And then we would update it. And every year we would, and the file name, it might say, Monarch Emergency Plan V 2021 or V June 2021. And then every time we update, we know which the most recent one is. But if that is not the environment that you're operating in, look at what other tools you are using to manage your clients. Because one of the other things that I do is all of the tools I use to manage my clients, we also have our own business operating in that way. So, if you use Google Drive, then you should have a Google Drive folder for your important documentations. If you're using, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pick a favorite, just the name comes to me, one of those workflow tools like Kajabi, then, and I know there's tons of them, so not endorsing that one or picking that one.
We're not sponsored.
Yeah, there are other ones that do the same type of tools where you have tasks and workflow. That might be the place to share that with the appropriate team member and say, here is our emergency document. This is where it's saved. This is when we update it. And if you have one of those workflow, you can create a task reminder that will call you back and notify you that it's time semi-annually to revisit that document, maybe collaborate with this person that you have also assigned it to, so that you're both in communication and connected to that document.
Got it. Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's excellent. So we're talking about teams, and so if you're a team of one, do you still recommend?
I think, we still need an emergency plan in place if we're a team of one, because now we need to think, I'm a team of one. And so what we talked about when supporting our clients is, if you're a team of one, who will communicate to the clients and make decisions on whether projects are deleted, delegated, or delayed? So somebody would have to be on that project, and then somebody is going to need to have access to your clients. Do you have a CRM system? Do you have a database? How do they get into your email? Are you using Gmail? Are you using Outlook? What tools are you using? And how would somebody find that information? Are you using a workflow management tool? Do you use, I can't even think of the name of it. It's like WhatsApp, but you like record messages to clients. It's
Boxer? Maybe?
Yeah. Do you use Boxer? How would somebody get the admin? So for a one-person team, it's really thinking through, what tools do I use? Who would need to get into them? How do I grant that access? And do I create them as another admin user now for backup? Or do I wait and then implement it and then have to make sure that they can get in? If you are a team of, and you have independent contractors that maybe support you and work a little more independently, how do you currently collaborate? How do they communicate with you? How do they communicate with clients? Do they communicate with clients? How do they access documents? How does the work get funneled to them? And what types of interruptions could there be? Like, think about like a stream or a river and the water flowing down, and what types of boulders or a beaver dam are going to be in the way and stop the work and the information from smoothly flowing between maybe that outsourced contractor and the client. And then what tools do you need to put into place? Again, maybe a workflow system, a communication system that expands the ways that you are communicating with your team so that they can step in and have access and insight into kind of some of that back end, and be able to continue that communication and that work so things don't hit a standstill. And again, then if you have a more structured team with W-2 employees, is there somebody that would be able to step into a management position and make sure that projects are moving along, that could maybe manage your emails, manage your phone calls, manage your calendar, and communicate changes to those appointments, or again, delegate them and communicate the appropriate steps to the team members so that, again, communication is a huge piece. How is it coming in? How is it reaching the appropriate people so that work can keep moving according to your plan?
Do you include process documentation in a plan like this?
I think it would be important because another thing that is in my mind is employees have or should have a level of authority that is aligned with their level of responsibility. So think about when you go to a store, who is allowed to give a discount or give a refund, because what level of responsibility and knowledge do they have about your situation? So that's not the only time that comes up, but if you have employees, you are overseeing them, you are supervising them, you're answering questions, you're supporting them, you're guiding them. So in your absence, how will that authority and responsibility be managed? So, and that's both from the client and the employee, meaning the employee is like, do I have authority to do this? Is it my responsibility now to do this? And those questions are what would kind of be answered in a process document, which would be part of your emergency plan. So again, we're going to create an overall plan. These are the steps. This is what happens. And then in the employee part, it would be, and this is who's going to carry it out. And these are considerations. In my absence, your responsibility and your authority increases, or it doesn't. And this other person is delegated my responsibilities and authority. And that needs to be clearly communicated. Otherwise, staff are going to be like, I don't know what is expected of me. And they are going to be worried about making the wrong decision, or they may make a decision you're not comfortable with, and then you come back and feel stressed or frustrated. So really, we can't make it perfect. It just needs to think through so many of these topics. There will be things that are overlooked. There are going to be things that you never were considered because that's impossible. But just going through some of these big items will trigger other thoughts and other thoughts. And then you can have your notes down on what is your vision and intention, and how would your staff feel supported? What is your staff's, what do you expect of them in your absence? And how does that complement or inhibit the client section of the emergency plan? Are they working in complement? Are they collaborative? Or are you creating processes that are actually going to create friction between what you want to be happening?
That's excellent. And it feels like that just by going through this process, it even if there is never an emergency, which let's hope that there isn't, this is just a just in case kind of a plan. It sounds like just simply going through the process of creating this just in case plan, it sounds like you would have a much stronger business at the end of it because everything's documented.
I think so. And I don't know how many business owners have taken their laptop or checked their phone on a vacation, but I think this is another time. It's not an emergency, but this is a great time to implement how your emergency plan is working. Is if you can be out of the office for a 2-week vacation and not sign in because you have managed all these processes and expectations in advance and can really disconnect and just enjoy some time for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. Like, it can be used for when it's not an emergency, when it's just time to enjoy some life.
Exactly. I talked to one another associate in business, and they're getting ready to take a long maternity leave. So there are a lot of times that maybe don't feel like emergencies, but are maybe a leave of absence, a voluntary break where this process will support that as well.
Oh, that's great. And I love looking at it in that light because it's
Mhm.
more of a happy reason.
Yeah, so I think it's just like you said, it just strengthening your business and getting a little bit more organized and thinking, how does this work without it all being about me all the time?
Exactly, right. Like we want to grow businesses that can run without us ideally, or
I mean, and of course, we still add value, but it's
sure.
important that we all have the ability to take a break or just step away for a period of time, and for our clients and our staff and the business to keep thriving.
Exactly, because otherwise you're not really building a business, you're building a job for yourself. And that's
Yeah,
probably not why you got into business in the first place.
no, probably not for most of us.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Is there anything else that comes to mind when you're thinking about making sure that your team is supported if you need to step away for a bit?
I think that, and we mentioned this last week, and so 2 points here. One is it can feel overwhelming. I know that this is a lot of information, a lot of points to consider. And just remember that it doesn't need to be perfect. And doing 1, 2, 3 of these points, any bit of reflecting and working on this is going to move you in that direction. Don't feel like, oh, I've got to binge get this done and stress about it and get overwhelmed and then abandon it. Just small bites, maybe 15 minutes a week for the next month. And then you've got this plan and these ideas, and you're also going to find some gaps, like, I need to get my client list a little more organized, or maybe I need to implement a new tool like workflow or communication, or a password keeper, and it'll help you identify some of those areas where you can be strengthening the structure and processes in your business. On the second point is, this is a great opportunity when you're working with planning. How would my emergency plan work with my team? Is to have a conversation with your team. Perhaps you want to think alone about it a little bit, and then maybe have a group session, maybe hop together on Zoom and ask them, if I were to be out, what would your concerns be? What comes up and when do you need me? And get some of their feedback, because that's also going to help you from their perspective of where are they getting lost? Where do they need support? And have you planned for those factors? And that's really going to be a little bit more comprehensive in this area.
Oh my goodness, you've given us so much to think about. Thank you so much, Katie. And if you're interested in getting help going through your contingency plan, Katie is here to help you. So we'll include contact information below if that's something you'd like to reach out for, and we hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.